Hey, this is Catherine Trotter, your host of The Shift, and we are back for another edition. We have a little bit time left in the month of September, and then we're going to be thrusting right into the fourth quarter, October the 1st. Listen, we're going to jump right into tonight's conversation, and I want to start off by talking about an old movie that many of you probably remember, The Karate Kid. And in that movie, there were so many takeaway moments, so many lessons that I think we all have learned. And when I reflect on that movie, I started to think about how everything in our life has prepared us, you and me, for the next season. When I started to look at the movie and think about the throwback messages or hidden teachable moments throughout the whole movie, Mr. Miyagi was constantly teaching Daniel on how to prepare for a fight of his life, right? For something that was coming, and he had to be prepared. But the interesting thing about Mr. Miyagi, he would teach him in interesting ways, in the most unconventional ways. And that's how our life is. We know that we are going into a new season of our life. And I submit to you that everything that you've gone through, everything that you have had to face has been preparing you for this next intersection that you're about to cross out of and cross into in your life. And sometimes it feels like it's a fight. When we think about that movie, every aspect of our lives, just like in the movie, with every aspect of Daniel's life and everything that Mr. Miyagi asked him to do, there was nothing put to waste. Remember, we all know the infamous saying, wax on and wax off. He was teaching him a skill in a movie in that in that moment of doing the wax on, wax off. It was something he was learning, but he thought he was just cleaning cars. He just thought he was waxing cars. I want you to think about the different phases of your life that sometimes we may look at as, well, that was just something I did. But look at the deeper meaning. Look at the lesson to be learned from that experience. Listen, we all have gone through things, but we have to look at the experience that we learned from it. What can we gain from it? What knowledge, what level of wisdom can we grow from it, right? And so every aspect of our lives, no matter how small or mundane it may feel, it has taught us some practical ways that we can implement in our everyday life. No matter what has happened, it will all work together for the good. As 2025 approaches, you have the tools to tackle any obstacle you face when watching the old movie Karate Kid. I want you to think about, some of you may want to watch it this weekend. I want you to think about, as you watch that movie, lessons that Daniel learned and lessons that you had to learn. Always look at the situation dead on. You will not be defeated. I'm going to say that again. You will not be defeated. We're coming into a season that we have to firewall our mind. Think about our computers for a second. We have to put firewall on it, right? We have to do something to make sure a virus does not infect the inner workings of our computers, our laptops, our devices, right? How often do we firewall our mind? How often do we do that? Right? Because if we don't firewall our mind, so many things are going to creep in to try to distract us, to try to destroy us, to try to derail us from forward movement, right? And if we put the firewall around our mind, then we will see no limits, we will see no boundaries. I need you to see that there are no limits around you. I need you to see that there are no boundaries around you. Sometimes, because of what we go through, it blurs the vision. This is the season over the next couple of days that we have left, of September. I know September is not done yet, but the balance of September, I need you to firewall your mind. Because if you don't firewall your mind, you're going to allow anything to come in and infiltrate. Sometimes we have allowed too many things to come into our mindset, and we're not productive throughout the day because our mind is so consumed on the situation. Listen, some situations you cannot fix. Some situations you don't have that magic wand to make it okay. And sometimes you have to release a situation. You just have to release it. And me, I'm a believer, so I release it. I pray to God and I say, God, I give this situation to you. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to repair it. I don't know what to do with it. But God, I'm giving this situation to you. And sometimes we have to release a situation that we've been holding on to, and we're trying to figure out how to come to a conclusion, a positive conclusion on a thing, on a situation. And sometimes you feel that you've been running in circles. I tell you, you need to release it. Release it and put up a firewall in your mind. When I say put up a firewall, I'm not saying disassociate yourself. I'm not saying ignore the realities that's going on around you. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying is when you firewall your mind, you're reconditioning your mindset so you can still function at optimal capacity. Because see, what will happen to a computer if a virus gets into a computer? It's going to start acting crazy. It's going to, it's the functionality of the laptop will not be at its optimum best. Sometimes, if you're trying to use a computer, if anybody has ever experienced a virus on your laptop, I know I have. It is not going to work the same. The functionality is not the same. The production, what you want it to produce, it does not happen the way it normally would if the virus wasn't there. It impedes on the functionality, it impedes on forward movement, and you can't get the job done. Period, point blank. If you ever experience a virus on a computer, you cannot complete whatever task. And if you're trying to complete it, sometimes these pop-ups will come up on your computer. Pop-ups that has been infected into the body and the nucleus of your computer system, right? And it's destroying the very mechanism on how it's truly supposed to function. That's what happens to our mindset. Viruses get into the crevices of our mindset, and the functionality on how we're supposed to function every single day is diminished. Are we operating at optimal capacity, or are we and have we been affected with a virus? And that's a question we all have to ask ourselves. As we continue to move forward, there's a quote that I saw. It says, success is not measured by what you accomplish, but by the opposition you have encountered and the courage with which you have maintained the struggle against overwhelming odds. And that's a quote by Martin. I'm going to say it again. And you may have heard me say this quote before. It says, success is not measured by what you accomplish. We can accomplish many things, but by the opposition you have encountered. There's been so many oppositions in my personal life, and I'm telling you, I have to believe that because of the opposition, something greater is ahead. I have to believe. There's no other option for me not to believe it. The opposition strengthens you. The opposition, it builds a level of wisdom in you. The opposition makes you stronger. The opposition allows you to know how to operate in patience through the turbulent moments in your life. Without opposition, we can't grow. Now, I'm not saying we got to live in turmoil all of our life. I'm not suggesting that either. But what I am saying is any great leader that you study, any great leader that have made any type of level of success, they will all speak to that there was a season in their life that it was challenging. There was a season in their life that they experienced opposition. And in that valley experience is where they had to learn how to fight. In that valley experience is where they had to learn how to put on the firewall in their mindset so they would not operate at a lower capacity. Every great leader that you study had to go through opposition. In fact, I believe it's your passageway. It is preparing you for the next chapter. It is preparing you for the next season. It is preparing you for where you are going. You can't get to any higher heights in your life, in your business, what you're trying to do, if you have not been buffeted, if you have not been tested, right? See, a true test is when you're going through something and you're going through opposition and you don't lash out and you don't say truly what it is you want to say, but you keep your composure, right? You keep your composure, you stay intact. And that is challenging. That is hard, but you do it. That means you're growing in patience, you're growing in wisdom. Listen, put on that firewall. The quote went on to say, but the opposition you have encountered and the courage with which you have maintained the struggle against overwhelming odds. Listen, you are going to rise above it. The overwhelming odds that said your business will not succeed, you're going to rise above it and your business will succeed. 2025, I have some aggressive goals. I hope you have some aggressive goals. I don't care what odds are stacked against me. I don't care what circle I'm in, what circle I'm not in. I am going to create the circle that need to manifest and birth me to the next dimension of where I need to go to for where my business need to go to. And that's the mindset you got to have for yourself. Create your own circle that's going to be conducive for growth. That's going to be conducive for a healthier lifestyle, right? That's going to be conducive for where you're going. As long as we continue to stay in a state of living below who we are, living below our standards, living below, we're not going to achieve what is time for us to achieve. We're not going to walk into greatness. We won't, because we don't think greatness is even assigned to our name. There was another phrase that I saw some time ago, and it says, "You will bloom at the right time. Open your eyes, get into position. Opportunities are assigned to you." I'm going to say that again. You will bloom at the right time. Sometimes we see other people blooming before us and we say, "Why are they achieving all this great success?" You should clap for them. You should be happy for them, because I believe, as I see others that's close to me achieving and excelling, that means I am next up. I'm next. I'm next. Who got next? I got next. Who got next? You got next. You will bloom at the right time. But you gotta go through your go through. Sometimes you gotta go through the process. And sometimes we don't want to go through the process. We want to be immediately go from level 1 to level 100. We in the penthouse, we in the suite. We No, sometimes we got to go through the process, because let's say we fast forward and we make it there, but didn't go through the process, was no training involved. We didn't have any kind of opposition. We just walked through it and made it to the top. How long will you really be able to stay there? Will you have the character? Will you have the integrity? Will you have the stamina to stay at that level? Will you have the knowledge, the skills, and expertise to stay at that level? Listen, you're going to bloom at the right time. Go through what you got to go through, and you got to open your eyes and get into position for opportunities that are assigned to you. But you're only going to be able to see it if you put the firewalls on. Firewall your mindset in this season. There's going to be things that's going to come, there's going to be things that's going to be done. And in order for you to persevere through it all, you got to put on the firewall. You got to firewall your mindset right now, so that way you can become that thing that you saw in your dream, that thing that you saw in your vision, whatever that thing is. You know what the thing is. You fill in the blank. I'm going to read excerpts from my book once again, Metamorphosis Shadow. And it says, "What lies in false state of being have you accepted about yourself? When you accept a false perception about yourself, it then becomes your reality. Don't affirm it. If you affirm your false state of being, then you give consent and permission to live a life void of your purpose. Then, when you accept that false being, listen, when you accept that false being of self, then everything that you do and how you react to life situations will be funneled through the shadows of a marred self image." Wow. How do you see yourself? How do you see yourself is the question. Perhaps you're looking at yourself through a foggy mirror. It's foggy, it's distorted. Maybe the mirror is cracked, maybe the mirror is broken, and you're seeing only a fractional part of who you are. The book went on to say, "Who gave permission for you to see yourself in a lower state of vision, a lower perspective of yourself? Who did you give permission to, that you see yourself now in a lower state of being?" Because we have to get permission for us to see ourselves less than who we are. Perhaps someone has spoken not so positive words into your life. Perhaps you've spoken words to yourself that is less than of who you are. Who did you give permission to? Because whoever you gave permission to, I'm here today to tell you, you can retract that open door. You can close that door. You can close the door, and you can take away the permission that you gave to look at yourself less than who you truly are. Who did you give permission to that has devalued your reflection, your name, and your purpose? How do you describe yourself? How do others speak to you? What are you allowing? How are you allowing others to speak to you? The energy that you give off will advertise to whoever in your circle, whoever you're associated with, the people that you deal with in society. The energy you give off will sow a seed in terms of how that seed will manifest in your life and how they will interact with you. What have you self-published about yourself? What script have you written and now play over and over in your mind? The daily actions that you display are funneled through a mirage of a marred identity. What areas of your life have you given attention to that has separated you from the origin of who you really are? What story have you written in the crevice of your mind based off of the script that others have written about you? Think about that for a second. What story have you written in the crevice of your mind based off of the script that others have written about you? Listen, people can say different things about your name, but you need to know who you are. At the end of the day, you got to wake up every morning. You got to speak affirmations to yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, and speak life to yourself. Mary J. Blige got her song, Good Morning, Gorgeous. You need to get up in the morning and say, Good morning, gorgeous, and know who you are. How do you describe yourself is how others will describe you, right? People can come up with different descriptions about who you are and this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, who are you? Who do you say you are? And you walk in that authority. You walk in that mindset. Here's another question in the book. It says, what areas have held you back? What areas are you denying about yourself? Self-awareness. When you look at the word self, it means a person's essential being that distinguishes them from others. The word unique means being the only one of its kind, unlike anything else. The word awareness means knowledge or perception of a situation. In this book, Metamorphosis Shadow, the main character in this book, her name is Destiny. And Destiny is going through this journey in life to really get through the shadows of her life. Metamorphosis Shadow talks about walking out of the shadows of your past and walking into your destiny. The part of the book next, it says, Destiny is struggling with coming to terms with what was. It's a question that says, what is prevailing? What is preventing you from walking into your higher self? And that's a question we have to ask ourselves. What is preventing us from walking into our higher self? Again, the word self means a person's essential being that distinguishes them from others. What distinguishes you from the rest? You're different. You're unique. Unique again means being the only one of its kind. There is nobody like you. Affirm yourself and say that there is nobody like me. Affirm yourself. If you don't have nobody else to affirm you, you affirm yourself. Awareness means knowledge or perception of a situation. Now, again, I'm not saying we're living in this bubble world where we completely are disassociated or disconnected from the reality of what's going on. Yes, you see it, you understand it, but you don't have to allow it to absorb your very being. Because when it absorbs your very being, that means the firewall of your mind, there's been a gap. There's a gap in the firewall of your mind that you have allowed a situation to consume you to the point that you are not functioning at optimal capacity. When we look at the word acceptance, it means the action of consenting to receive. What have you accepted about yourself? What have you allowed other people to say about you and you just accepted it? The word acceptance means the process of being received as adequate or suitable. The question we all ask sometimes is, am I good enough? What do others think of me? Why is there such a tug of war within me? Destiny ponders, why is she not farther in life and how can she fulfill her purpose? Destiny's purpose is tied to her being free to express herself authentically and unrestricted. The real question that we must all ask ourselves, do we accept ourselves? Because of the pressures of life, one forces themselves to live in a state of incarceration in their own mind and consciously blocks off the essence of who they are for fear of being accepted into the circle that they wish they was in. Destiny deliberately incarcerates herself and the essence of who she is to numb her pain. When we look at the word essence, it means a property or group of properties of something without which it would not exist or be what it is. I submit to you today that it's time for you to accept yourself. It's time for you to accept yourself and rise to the occasion of who you are. When we think about the essence, finding your way back to who you are and the worth that you bring to the table, you have value on the inside of you. Is a worth. It's a process that you have to go through. You are worth the process. The process to reclaim will help you to function at a higher capacity. It will help you to function at a higher capacity. You are a significant individual. You are an individual that you will be an overcomer. You will rise to the occasion. You're just going through a process, the cocoon process. Think about a butterfly. So before butterflies, a beautiful butterfly flying all around, they got to go through a process. It's the cocoon process. The book says Destiny realizes that she needs to transform, but fear is calling her name to stay in the land of the familiar. In the natural, the butterfly goes through a cocooning process, and without this phase, it could not transform into a butterfly. The transformation phase takes time that cannot be rushed. The majority of Destiny's life, she has been under the clock, minute by minute, hour by hour, completing tasks that's been handed to her, but she's not truly fulfilling her purpose. Destiny allowed herself to be torn in multiple directions, and that is in direct contradiction to her purpose. But now is ready, and now she's ready to tap into her purpose and go through the cocoon process. A cocoon is a protective covering or a silky covering made by an insect to shelter themselves while they grow. Caterpillars make their cocoons from strands of silk that they produce from the glands near their mouths. They use their mouth to weave the silk, which is sticky at first, into a cocoon. Some caterpillars make very loose, open cocoons, while others build very strong, tightly woven cocoons. The caterpillar phase, often unsure about one's place in life and not certain on how to get to the place of purpose. The cocoon phase is what's going to help us all, starting to gain strength to reclaim self worth and self identity. Yes, now it is time for you to transform. It is time for you to leave behind the remnants of the past, and it's time to take off the mask. It's time for a heart transplant. The position of a heart in a human's body is strategically knitted together to your vascular system, which is connected to every part of the body. The pumping of the blood permeating throughout the body is a sustaining mechanism to live. Destiny's abuse has caused her heart not to function properly. Destiny got to the place in her life that she could no longer love from an authentic place. Destiny could only wear the mask. It's time to take the mask off. It's time for a heart transplant. When we think about a heart transplant, that means you're removing a diseased heart and you're replacing it with a healthy heart from a donor to improve your quality of life and increase your lifespan. Listen, it's time for us to move into the place of purpose. It's time for us to move into the place of destiny. I encourage everybody, no matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, the best is yet to come for you. We have a special edition on next week. I hope everybody tunes in for that, where we're going to round out everything as we get ready to wind down the month, the month of September. When we look at the calendar, today's the 17th. Next Tuesday is the last Tuesday in the month of September. So we have a special edition to close out the third quarter of the year before we go into the fourth quarter of the year. But I want to encourage everybody again. The best is yet to come for you. The best is yet to come. I know we've gone through many things in our life, but I need you to put the firewall up. Put the firewall around your mindset. Because in this next season of your life, it's not time for you to live a mediocre life. It's time for you to break every chain so you can go to the next level, not just for you, but it's people in your community, it's people that's connected to you that you need to help them break their chains. But you can't help anyone break their chain if you're still chained yourself. So put up the firewalls in your mind and walk into the greatest season of your life. I'm CT Speaks, signing off.